There's a motion by Ms. Conder, a second by Ms. Littleton to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 6-0. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the board meeting on December 10th, 2019.
I make the motion.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Ramsey, a second by Ms. Conder to approve the minutes for the board meeting of December 10th, 2019. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 7-0. I'll now entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Ms. Littleton to enter into executive session. The stated purpose of executive session is legal advice regarding pending contractual negotiations with developer and school site in the 17A 176 corridor, legal advice regarding pending insurance contractual issue, discussion of pending employment matters, to include the appointment of an administrator, 2 student attendance appeals, 5 student expulsion appeals. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are now in executive session. I'll now entertain a motion to return to regular session.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Ms. Littleton to return to regular session. Is there any discussion? I'd like to state for the minutes that no action was taken in executive session. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are in regular session. Now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We did have multiple deaths in our Berkeley County School District family, from retired administrators to current employees to a student this past week. It's been a tough week. We do, as a board, extend our condolences to those families as they go through their grieving process. We'll now move to agenda item 4A, the superintendent's report. Dr. Ingram, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. In the spirit of touting 21st century activities in our district, I attended a construction project at the Mount Pleasant Town Center this past Saturday. Students from Philip Simmons High constructed the entrance to their school with over 4,000 cans of food donated by Costco. The display will be in place until February, and then the food will be donated to the Low Country Food Bank. 3D printing is abound. I saw students at Nexton Elementary. They printed a prosthetic finger for one of their grandparents, which is pretty impressive, as well as students at Marrington Middle printed eyeglass frames for a classmate who broke his frames, and those frames actually work. So that's very good. Yesterday, we held our principals meeting at Child Nutrition and at Central Services. We reviewed some HR items, the design team, and performing arts items. This Friday, I plan to attend the Berkeley Goose Creek basketball games at Goose Creek. Would like to congratulate Boulder Bluff Elementary. They've just been awarded a national award, a Lighthouse School status by the Leader in Me program. This makes our 3rd Lighthouse school in the Leader in Me program, along with St. Stephen's Elementary and Mount Holly Elementary. I would like to remind board members, in your packet, you have your statement of economic interest that needs to be filled out by March 30th electronically. So I'd like to remind you of that. You do have a packet there. If you have any questions, let me know. We'll try to help you through it. Teacher Forum, I see Amanda. Thank you for being here. Is Crystal here? I don't see Crystal. Is she here? There you go. You were hiding back there. Thanks for being here from our Teacher Forum. This coming Monday, schools and offices will be closed for the Martin Luther King holiday. And we do have a regional robotics competition in Myrtle Beach the last week of February, specifically Saturday, February 29th. If you've never been to one of those, I highly recommend it. It's like going to a sporting event. It's really pretty impressive. We got teams going there. And Madam Chair, with your permission, I would like to read a statement that will reflect some of our growth issues, with your permission. At last month's meeting, this board was presented a thoughtful and urgent assessment of enrollment issues at Cane Bay Elementary and Cane Bay Middle by the two principals of those schools. We saw a video demonstrating the urgency surrounding those buildings' capacities, and we were provided history, facts, and sound information regarding the utilization of those buildings and the programmatic ingenuity of those thoughtful leaders. At the principals and community's request, my administration has looked at various ways to address the capacity issues and brought you a proposal last month that was unanimously adopted and has the least impact on current residents. This plan involved redistricting future homeowners to schools with capacity, a choice program for residents within the Cane Bay attendance area, and a cap on enrollment at Cane Bay Elementary and Middle. Nevertheless, as any proposal like this would do, it has invited many questions and concerns from the community that we have heard. Let me be clear. In my opinion, the only long-term solution to the problems of growth we are seeing in areas like Cane Bay, other than busing students to schools with capacity throughout the district, is the construction of new school facilities. Everyone in the administration is committed to our capital building program that addresses our needs as quickly as funding is available. Our capital building program is premised on appropriate planning, and we have worked with this board for 2 years on a plan that I believe will be a model for the Southeast and other high-growth districts. I know there are people here tonight interested in our growth plans and specifically in the cap we've placed at our Cane Bay schools. Please know that the cap was instituted at the request of principals who have seen their buildings filled to the maximum safe capacity. Now, in a bit of exciting news and forward-thinking news, we have sought out several developers to work with in allowing this tremendous growth to be paid for by persons moving into our county or building within these developments. At this time, it is the recommendation of the administration that this board grant the administration the authority to execute a memorandum of understanding and first of its kind agreement with the Carnes Crossroads developer to implement a funding source of impact fees in that development that will help us with one of the revenue streams we need. Further, the memorandum of understanding will include a K-8 school site to be located near 176 in close proximity to Cane Bay and Nexton, and will alleviate overcrowding at both Cane Bay Elementary and Cane Bay Middle. After the execution of this memorandum of understanding, legal counsel will bring a full formal agreement implementing these concepts for consideration to the full board through the committees on facilities. In the years to come, we will need to continuously build and address our growth. This is a strong first step forward in partnership with Carnes Crossroads. We could not be more excited. We have been working on this for many months, but of course could not publicly announce until this point due to ongoing negotiations. I hope what the members of this audience hear is that this cap requirement is a short-term Band-Aid to a problem that this board is aggressively addressing through smart planning and identifying appropriate funding sources that will ultimately be resolved only through a properly planned capital building program, which this board has directed our administration to address. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Dr. Ingram. We will entertain a motion on the memorandum of understanding, but it will come in action item 6A, which will come after citizen comments at the time when all of the executive session items will be brought forward. So thank you for the recommendation in the superintendent's report. We were negotiating this up to 2 o'clock today. This has been ongoing for quite some time, so we are very happy to be at this point in time, and we'll take action as soon as we hear the citizen comments, which is what is next on the agenda, 5A. In order to conduct this meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, we ask that you honor the following guidelines. Stakeholder comments are welcomed and encouraged. However, the board will not take immediate action on public comments at this meeting. Any person wishing to address the board must register prior to the meeting. Comments must be regarding programs, policies, or procedures. Comments regarding complaints against employees other than district-level executives or references to students other than the child of the speaker will not be heard in public session. Groups addressing the same topic should select one speaker. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The board chair reserves the right to allot additional time or halt public comments that do not adhere to the guidelines. Oh, I hope I don't butcher your last name. Linda Ciccanello. Transportation of students and how long they're on a bus, we would invite you to the podium for 3 minutes.
For your notes, it's Cecconnello. I'm here this evening about the issues at Cane Bay Elementary and Middle School. I have grandchildren in the school, and I am a part-time caretaker of them. I guess my first question to you is, what are these busing plans for the students, and how's it going to be paid for? What's the cost of it? And the second question is, the students are on the bus, and I know the one leaves from the Coves at like 6:05 in the morning, and now what you're proposing is they would go to the elementary school or the middle school, and then they would be transported to another school. So what kind of learning do you think they're getting on the tour of Berkeley County every day? The purpose of the school board is to educate our children, make them flourish and prosper. Sitting on a bus for approximately an hour and a half each way does not do that. And the third thing I'll bring up is having served on government councils, when you call a meeting at 6:30, that's what time it starts. If you're in executive session, you call recess at the executive session, and you come out and you start the meeting on time. Thank you.
Up next, we'd like to invite Shannon Webster, Rapid Development in District 7 without proper infrastructure, i.e. schools, to support Ms. Webster.
Good evening, elected officials. Like all of you, I too am a public servant. I've spent the past 21 years as an active duty service member of our armed forces. I have learned how to sacrifice my personal wants and desires and answer my nation's call. As representatives of Berkeley County, our children and educators need you to answer their call. Hear their plea for smaller class sizes. Listen to their tireless petition for proper infrastructure. We need adequate, reliable transportation solutions that are safe for our children. And hear my prayers as a parent that my child, who's here today, is seen more than just a faceless statistic. Time has run out for short-term solutions. I urge each and every one of you to take action today. I implore the school board to demand an immediate moratorium in District 7 on residential development building permits, more specifically within Cane Bay Plantation and Nexton, until infrastructure such as schools are erected to properly manage the uncontrolled growth within Berkeley County. Your constituents are pleading for action. Remember why you chose to serve the men and women of Berkeley County. My son is my reason for serving, and he, along with every other child in District 7, deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Next, I'd like to invite Alan James, recording attendance lines.
Good evening, school board. My name is Alan Miller James, and I'm a resident of Cane Bay Plantation. I'm also a former school board director from Pennsylvania. I was quite disheartened when I saw your recent proposal regarding school lines. I believe that it's ineffective and it does not provide what we really need in Cane Bay. I sent all of you approximately 9 points that do address this. We need to start with things like verification of the students that are already there. And you need to make hard decisions like redrawing attendance lines. Although you announced a new proposal today, schools have not been built. Land has not been prepped for buildings. We're talking 3 to 5 years away. Lastly, today on your agenda, you have the second reading of the Cane Bay Elementary and Middle School attendance lines. That is illegal. It does not follow Robert's rules. In your own agenda, that you, the minute meetings that you proposed and voted on, Mr. McQuinlan both proposed it and seconded it. You cannot vote on this tonight, and I ask that it be removed.
Next up, Mr. Mark Treen, for displaced people groups.
Howdy, everybody. I just wanted to say congratulations on the, that's not all I wanted to do, but I want to say congratulations on the impact fees. I know it was a lot of hard work. And wanted to say thank you for the school caps. Not very popular, but it was a solution, and I asked you for a solution. So I thank you for there being a solution that will prevent overcrowding. I have 4 things I'd like to bring up, 4 displaced people groups that you've caused by this cap. And I'd like you to address it internally and then implement the fix immediately. And if you respect me, I would ask you to please pull out a pen and write these 4 people groups down. The night that this cap came out, I got a PM from a teacher. She asked me, what about my kids? I asked some officials, and from what I understand, the official policy is that children of Cane Bay Elementary, Cane Bay Middle School teachers have no exception for the cap. That obviously is wrong and needs to get addressed. It needs to be an exception that's made, and an official email needs to go out from some representative to all employees that are affected. Second people group. I'm going to quote Miss Jenny Z on this. So I'm a parent of 2 boys, middle school and high school, who is expecting a call any day to have a middle school foster child placed with me. They will be most likely taken from their home and their current school and have to start a new school here. If all goes well, they will connect with my boys, and my boys will show them around the school and help them to fit in during this already difficult stage in their life called middle school. Unfortunately, starting next year, they will be separated and sent to a different school, only highlighting their situation in a bad way. If they start here this year, they will again have to switch schools. Foster kids are a very small population. I believe they deserve an exception. Let's help their lives be less chaotic and transient when we can, please. And I think that's something you could do something about very easily. Make it a standard exception for foster and adopted children. Third people group is military children. I spoke to 5 people this morning. I asked 4 of them if they were active duty. They all 4 told me they were. I forgot to ask the 5th person. So there are a lot of active duty people here who are not speaking tonight. They are a people group. Their children, because they transit maybe every year, maybe every 3 years, have less resilience because they have less bonds in the community and in the less friends in the school. The parents are less connected. They're less resilient. You're causing them to go to a new school system, maybe under misconceptions because of communication that they have ahead of time, and have to go to a different place. If you want, and I'm asking you to do research, analyze the impact of allowing an exception for military families.
Mr.
And you
Chen,
don't have to do the
Could
research.
you wrap up your
Yes.
comments, please, and give us the fourth people group?
Yes. For research for military children, email christopher.gerry@us.af.mil. His job is to answer that question for you. The fourth person group is any children that are physically or emotionally specifically impacted by this. I know this may normally go through a normal exception board, but I would ask you to make that a permanent, obvious exception.
Thank you, Mr. Treen. Next, Elizabeth Hackman, Cane Bay School Zoning.
Good evening, school board. First of all, I want to thank you for your work within the school district for our children. I agree 100% that there is an issue in District 7 with the Cane Bay schools. Unfortunately, I do disagree with the proposed solution. There is a oversized issue with oversized classes. There is an issue with overextending of resources as well as with the teachers. A little backstory on me. I've been a Cane Bay resident in Old Rice Retreat since 2013. There are 12 houses between my house and Cane Bay Elementary, 3 from my house to Cane Bay Middle if you go through the tunnel. I have a current 6th grader at Cane Bay Middle who started in Mr. Metzger's class in Cane Bay Elementary. We've enjoyed school carnivals, football games, walking, baseball games, building relationships with the staff. Ms. LaVerge has been a wonderful principal at Cane Bay Elementary. Outside resources, my younger son, who is 4, Mason, was a student in the Child Fine Speech Pathology program last year at Cane Bay Elementary. He went twice a week and met with Miss Linda to get speech therapy for a medical issue. He is so excited to go to Bubby's big boy school next year as a kindergartner. Unfortunately, that may not be the case. I am concerned as a mom of an upcoming kindergartner that if there is a cap for the whole school and not for an allotted school grade, that we will lose kindergarten teachers like Mr. Metzger, who is an absolutely amazing kindergarten teacher, if those kindergarten classes are cut for the 2020-2021 school year to 4 or 5 classes where they're at currently upwards of 10. That would also cause issues with employment. Another thing that is discouraging with these proposals is the transportation. We already have turnaround buses and double buses for these kids, busing in students rather than, and then yet again, we're going to try to bus them out. What about things in regards to breakfast for these kids and making sure that they are ready for a school day if they're going to be bused to Cane Bay Elementary and then get bused to another school, as well as issues with capacity. Where are these children going to be held at Cane Bay Elementary, what is already at capacity, to be then yet bused to Westview Elementary? I believe in offering solutions rather than just problems. I believe there needs to be a grandfather clause for current Cane Bay families with siblings that have already been in the system. It is to support our staff members, the relationships we've built with these teachers. I believe that location of address should be considered opposed to the timestamp as a primary filtration system for these children. It's going to be issues with traffic, infrastructure, transportation. It's going to affect and lessen the costs for them if they're already being bused in a smaller area. I believe that it does take a village to raise children, and that by busing these children out 10 miles away, we are fracturing the Cane Bay community.
Can you wrap your comments, please?
Yes, ma'am. We are fracturing the Cane Bay Cobra community and really hurting our children.
Thank you. Jamie Shepard, Cane Bay Schools Overcrowding.
Good evening. I feel like I should say ditto, but I've got a few things that I'd like to share that are a little bit different. My name's Jamie Shepard. My husband's here with me. His name's Brian. We have 3 children. We live in Cane Bay. My husband serves active duty in the Marine Corps. And I'm an LPC, a licensed professional counselor, and I'm also a parent educator with an organization called the Military Child Education Coalition. Tonight, I'm here on behalf of my 9-year-old, Zach, and his military peers that live in Cane Bay. I'm wondering if you knew that the average military child moves 6 to 9 times before they graduate high school. In Zach's short 9 years, he's lived in 3 different states and 2 different countries. We moved from Japan about 18 months ago and purposefully picked Cane Bay for the schools. We liked the idea that living in Cane Bay would allow our children to go to the YMCA, go to church, be able to go to karate, be able to go to schools together, and that they would build a community very easily with their peers and neighbors. It's something that's very similar to what we would experience if we lived on base, where we grocery shop at the same store, our kids go to the same school. It's something that's familiar to us, and I know this to be true for a lot of other families that live in Cane Bay, military families who have picked this community because it resembles what is comfortable and familiar to us. I know this to be true professionally and personally because Cane Bay is one of 12 schools who have a military family life counselor who is working at the school. Those schools are specifically appointed a counselor specific to work with military children on specific issues that are unique to our community, such as deployment of family members, being estranged from extended family. We don't live by grandparents and aunties and cousins who can help with daycare and childcare and picking up and being able to assist, constant moves. So we have some unique issues that cause a lot of social emotional issues. My purpose for being here is to be sure that in the 3 years that we have a tour of duty here in Charleston, that my son does not have to experience another transition. I'm a little bit unclear about the change between this policy that you're proposed on how he might be able to move or not be moving to Cane Bay Middle as he's in 4th grade this year. But I also would like to be able to allow his relationships that he's made with his peers who go to remain intact as well. I would like my son to go to school with my other son. When we move every 2 to 4 years, siblings become the family, the friend, the neighbor. They become everyone to our kids because we don't know everybody in the new place yet. And so to separate siblings is a very traumatic experience. I would like to be able to also suggest rezoning, re-verification of residency, and discontinuing allowing families to pay to allow their children to attend our schools when they live outside of the jurisdiction. Those are my suggestions.
Thank you very much. Next up, Monica Carmen, intentions for rezoning of Weatherstone community and building new schools.
Hello. You answered one of my questions as far as the building of schools. That's what we've been looking for. We moved into the Weatherstone area 3 years ago. Our biggest concern is, again, like most people that are here, is where are our kids going to go to school next year? Presently, our children are at Nexton Elementary, then they go to Sangaree, and then Cane Bay High School. We do have a high school student at Cane Bay, but our concern is also, too, I have a daughter who golfs and presently is attending Cane Bay High School to golf condition, but at the same time, our concern is like the well-being of the children. They make friends, throughout the schools that they're at, then they get pulled away and get put somewhere else and have to start all over. That is part of what we, have been concerned about. So what we'd like to know is, is there going to be rezoning? Weatherstone kind of sits out there on the other side of 26. We don't know if we're going to be included in that. No parent likes to sit and wonder where their kid's going to be each year. We chose these neighborhoods because that's where we wanted our kids to go. That's all, thanks.
Todd Drexler, I apologize did I get it right? Drexler, kindergarten enrollment in Cane Bay Elementary School.
Members of the board, thank you for your time here tonight. I appreciate you being here so late. I'll try to make it quick. Like most people that are here from Cane Bay tonight, I moved to the Cane Bay area for the quality and the proximity of the schools inside that neighborhood. And now our students, our kids are in jeopardy of not being able to attend those schools. I've heard a lot of things from people tonight that I agree with. I do believe that Cane Bay should be districted so that the residents, the student residents inside the neighborhood take first priority of the schools labeled with the name of the neighborhood. But that's not my biggest concern here tonight. My children, I have 3 young girls that are not of school age. One will be coming of school age here. And while I've heard of, Mr. Superintendent, your plans to build schools and the plans for the capacity of the schools, I've heard nothing about how new student kindergarten enrollment is going to be handled and whether or not there's going to be a specific amount of slots that are allotted for those children who are entering school for the first time. At that age, it's important for all students to stay at the schools that they have been at, but at that age, they're very vulnerable, and having a 5-year-old an hour or an hour and a half away from the house, especially given this day and age of the crazy acts of violence that people bring to our schools, is very disheartening to and it's a big pill to have to swallow. So I would just ask that you please publish the information about how you're going to handle that. I would ask that you hold open a certain amount of slots for incoming kindergartners, and then I would also ask that, that would be based on proximity, not on a timestamp to the folks that live in Cane Bay. I'm sure you folks all made the decision to live where you do for specific reasons, and I think most of the people in Cane Bay that have children made that decision to be there because of those schools. I understand that, the issues that are upon you, and you have to make a decision. But I would ask that you take another look at the decisions that you've made and see how that impacts the community of Cane Bay. Again, I'd like to thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly Marone. Did I get that right? On busing. Thank you.
Good evening, school board. My name is Kelly Marone. I live in Cane Bay. And I'm not going to restate what everyone says because I agree with everybody what they said, why we moved to Cane Bay. The buses is what I put on the form of what my big concern is. So we already addressed how long the children will be on the school. My biggest concern is right now I have a 5-year-old, and then I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. So my 2 points to this is, one, if my children get separated, how am I supposed to have my son go to Cane Bay Elementary and then my daughter go to another school? If they do school activities, how am I supposed to be in 2 spots at once? I'm very fortunate. I'm just a stay-at-home mom, but a lot of parents, they have 2 parents that work, and I can't imagine trying to rush my kids out extra early to get 1 kid to Cane Bay, 1 kid to Westview, and managing all of that. With that being said, the buses being so inconsistent and we don't have a reliable transportation system like we have, if my son was to go to Westview, he would get bused from the Oaks to Cane Bay, then Cane Bay to Westview, go to school, from Westview to Cane Bay, to the house. I timed it. My son, who is 5, will have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and I will have to wake up my 2 younger children to get them to school. If I choose to drive him, maybe we get to sleep until 5:45. If there is a non-delay with rerouting of the buses, he will get home anywhere between 3:30 to 4:15, and if there is a delay, 4:45. So when my son comes home, I will be able to give him dinner, no more extracurricular activities because we don't have enough time for that. That is not fair for our children. It takes a village to raise a children. I moved to Cane Bay to be part of this village, and unfortunately, it's getting stripped away, and that's not fair. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 6A, actions from executive session. We'll start with Ms. Conder. To be clear, the recommendation that we're first going to entertain is the approval for a memorandum of understanding that will be brought back as a full agreement to be presented through the appropriate committees. So, Ms. Condor?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I make a motion to authorize the superintendent to execute a memorandum of understanding to implement an impact fee in the Carnes Crossroads development and to develop a site for the potential location of a K through 8 school.
Second. There's a motion by Ms. Condor, a second by Wofford. The motion is to authorize the superintendent to execute a memorandum of understanding to implement an impact fee in the Carnes Crossroad development and develop a site for a potential location of a K-8 school. Any discussion?
Madam Chairman, as I sat here today and heard the concerns of these parents, and I listened very carefully to each and every one of you as you spoke, I just want to reassure you that this has been foremost on my mind and in my heart with regard to your children. And I cannot emphasize enough to you folks that we're doing everything humanly possible to try to get things moving. And I am really excited to be able to make this motion that I just made, and hopefully the wheels will start turning and your fears will be allayed. I cannot emphasize enough to you how hard we are working to keep your community intact and doing everything that we can to help facilitate that. Please just know that we're doing everything we can. We've had to think outside the box, but there were also safety concerns with respect to the overcrowded schools, and that was something that we just could not expose your children to have them continue to enter into schools that were far beyond capacity. And it was for their safety that we had to do this, that we had to put this cap on here. It was not an easy decision, but I can assure you that we are working very hard and very diligently to keep your children in the Cane Bay schools. We don't want to send them to other schools. That's not what we're choosing to do. As a matter of fact, if your child is in the school, in a Cane Bay school, your child will stay in a Cane Bay school. We're not going to take your children out of Cane Bay. The biggest concerns that I heard were the parents of kindergarten-age children who are up and coming in kindergarten. And we've developed a plan, and hopefully most of your children will get to attend the Cane Bay Elementary School as they enter kindergarten. We're doing everything that we can do to help facilitate that as well. By doing this and making this motion, we're going to continue to fast forward and move as rapidly as we can to get the additional schools built. Hopefully, this is the beginning, and it will help take the pressure off of the Cane Bay schools. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to make a comment, Madam Chair. I agree wholeheartedly with the impassioned pleas from the parents. We're all parents here. We understand the complexity of the issue, but as my colleague Ms. Condor has stated, we don't take our decisions lightly. There are only a few options that were available to us with the caps. One was year-round school. Another was actually scheduling half the kids in the morning and half the kids in the afternoon, like a double session type thing, which is not, every plan has its drawbacks and every plan has its positives. We took into account the actual principals and the teachers, and in fact, the district office, the cabinet level folks made the decision on the caps is not a good system, but I hope that it is very temporary. And let me state that Dr. Parker and his team has come up, along with Superintendent, something that you've just made aware of on this memorandum of understanding, a K-8 building, K through 8, in that general area. But in addition to that, impact fees, which would be one way of actually getting some funding for these schools. Some folks don't understand when they talk about school budgets. Many folks think that the school budget, inside that budget, is facilities. Well, it's not. It's basically an operational budget for that particular school year. And 88% of a school budget is salaries, okay? So funding is a critical component. We understand the need, but the funding is, at this point in time, the critical mass. It's really the driving force behind the delay. So the 8% money that we have available to us, we're going to utilize, and we are going to go forward with the construction of the new wing at Cane Bay Middle and Sangaree Middle, in addition to this K-8 facility. So we're doing everything we can, but we're hamstrung because we don't have the funding. And let me make another comment. Most folks talk about their taxes and so forth. Act 388 is another hamstring to local school boards. The local school board does not get funding for single-family dwellings for school taxes. That is a state mandate that we are not allowed. You may have a particular tax assessment for, let's say, $1,500 or $1,600, but you don't pay that. If you have a single-family dwelling, you don't pay taxes on that. You pay taxes on your vehicles and if you have rental properties and so forth. So Act 388 also puts us in a bind that we don't have the funding that is necessary to build these schools. If we did, trust me, the facilities and the funding, if the funding was there, we would have those facilities built. But we do have a plan in place. There are consequences, and there are some things that we are looking into presently. For example, there's a 1% sales tax that we may be able to in November look at, but that would be on the ballot. That would be a possibility of gaining more funding for these schools. So just trust us to the extent that we're not blind to the fact that we have issues, and we're not so calloused that we don't care. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. No other comments. I'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. We'll now move on for further action from executive session. Ms. Littleton.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the administration to add a child care program manager position to the Office of Administrative Services and Student Assignment Office.
Second. There's a motion by Littleton, a second by Wofford, to accept the recommendation of the administration to add a child care program manager position to the Office of Administrative Services and Student Assignment Office. This was discussed in executive session. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Ramsey.
I made the motion to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Ms. Amy Fulmer as Director of Administrative Services and Student Assignment for Berkeley County School District, with a contract to take effect on February the 4th, 2020.
Second.
I'll yield.
There's a motion by Mr. Ramsey, a second by Ms. Littleton, to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Ms. Amy Fulmer as the Director of Administrative Services and Student Assignment for Berkeley County School District with the contract to take effect on February 4th, 2020. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ms. Fulmer? I always tell Dr. Gelman she has like the hardest job in the school district as the negotiator for all things. When you start messing with people's children individually, it's extremely emotional. And Dr. Gelman does it with ease, and we are so grateful to get her help, and you will be wonderful in this position. We are excited for her to have help, and we are very excited for it to be you. So congratulations. Ms. Conder.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry. Keep us
That's
moving.
all right. Madam Chairman, I make a motion to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Stephanie Mazzell as Director of Business Service for Berkeley County School District with a contract to take effect on January 15th, 2020.
Second. There's a motion by Ms. Conder, a second by Wofford, to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Stephanie Mazzell as Director of Business Service for Berkeley County School District with a contract to take effect January 15th, 2020. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ms. Mazzell? We are very grateful to have you in the finance department. Munis and the financial software changeover has been extremely challenging, and you have been very helpful in helping us cross that hurdle. So congratulations on your promotion, and thank you for what you've done for us. Mr. McQuillan.
Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to move to authorize the superintendent to take formal steps to address the insurance needs of the district, including the execution of notifications, including potential termination notifications required under existing policies. Any final action would be brought back to the board for formal action.
Second. There's a motion by McQuillan, a second by Wofford, to authorize the superintendent to take formal steps to address the insurance needs of the district, including the execution of notifications, including potential termination notifications required under existing policies. Any final action will be brought back to the board for formal action. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We'll now move to student attendance appeals. I'll now hear a motion for student number 1.
Madam Chair, I move that we deny the motion of student number 1.
Second.
There's a motion by...
By the appeal, sorry.
Deny the appeal. There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Mr. Ramsey to deny the student attendance appeal for student number 1. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. I'll now entertain a motion for student number 2.
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we deny the student attendance appeal for student number 2.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Mr. Ramsey to deny the attendance appeal of student number 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. We'll now move on to expulsion appeals. We'll entertain student number 1.
Madam Chair, make a motion we deny the expulsion appeal of student number 1.
There's a motion by Mr. Barrow. Is there a second? Hearing no second, we'll entertain another motion.
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we grant the expulsion appeal of student number 1 and allow the child to attend the alternative school.
Second.
Is that Ms. Littleton? There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Ms. Littleton, to grant the appeal and assign student number 1 to Berkeley Alternative School. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
7-1, the ayes have it. Now entertain a motion for student number 2.
Madam
Handle administratively.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Ramsey to handle this student administratively. There's a second by Mr. McQuillan. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. Student number 3.
I make the motion that we uphold the expulsion.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Ramsey, a second by Ms. Conder, to deny the appeal and uphold the expulsion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Can the nays give me a hand raise so I can get a count? Nay. 2. 6-2, the ayes have it. Student number 4.
I make the motion that we uphold the expulsion.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Ramsey, a second by Ms. Conder, to deny the appeal and uphold the expulsion of student number 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
6-2, the ayes have it. Student number 5.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we deny the appeal of student number 5.
Mr. Barrow has made a motion to deny the appeal. Is there a second? Hearing none, we'll entertain another motion.
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we grant the appeal of student number 5 and allow that child to attend Berkeley Alternative School.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Ms. Conder, to grant the appeal and assign student number 5 to the Berkeley Alternative School. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
7-1, the ayes have it. That is all the ayes. And that's what took us so long. Executive session had lots to do. Any other action from executive session? That is all I have on my list. Did I miss anything? All right, we're on to agenda item 7A, temporary committee assignments. If a quorum for a committee is not present, all committees have quorum, so that is not necessary. We do run a committee structure here, so now we'll be going into committees. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the full board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Littleton, a second by Ms. Conder, to adjourn the meeting for committee meetings. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are recessed and now.
I'm calling the Committee on Academics and Innovation to order. I declare there is a quorum of committee members present and note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. The first agenda item is the Head Start Budget Expenditures Report for November 2019, Head Start Credit Card Report for November 2019, prospective new hires, excuse me, refunding application, and 2020-21 selection criteria. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the Head Start Budget Expenditure Report for November 2019, Head Start Credit Card Report for November 2019, prospective new hires, refunding application, and the 2020-2021 selection criteria.
Second.
Okay. I've got a motion from Ms. Littleton and a second from Mr. Barrow. Any discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries. Second agenda item, Madam Chairman, is the second reading of 2020-2021 instructional calendar. Mr. Dion Jackson, you are recognized.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Ingram, committee members, members of the board. As stated, the administration is bringing the 2020-2021 instructional calendar for second and final reading. Of note, from the first reading in December, there were a few adjustments to the calendar, nothing to change the integrity of the calendar. There was a typo in November for Election Day. It had November 4th instead of November 3rd. There were a couple of early release days and late arrival days that were also removed based on feedback that was received by the administration. With the exception of those minor changes, we have no further comment and prepared for second and final reading.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 instructional calendar for the second reading as presented by administration.
I'll second. Okay,
Excuse me.
thank you. I defer that to Mr. Barrow. We have a motion by Ms. Littleton, a second by Mr. Barrow. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so that the Finance and Human Resources Committee meeting can begin. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We are adjourned.
I am calling the Committee on Finance and Human Resources to order. I declare there is a quorum and committee members present. And note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. First agenda item is out-of-state travel. Ashley Smith, you are recognized.
Good evening, Chairman Ramsey, Dr. Ingram, and board members. Administration is requesting approval of the out-of-state travel as presented.
I move to approve the out-of-state travel as requested as presented.
Second. Do we have any discussion? We will now call the question. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All those who are opposed, the motion is approved. Second agenda item is IFB 552-19-20, pre-engineered metal buildings for facilities. Ashley Smith, you are recognized again.
Thank you. IFB 552 for pre-engineered metal buildings was bid to secure a contract for the design, delivery, and construction of 3 pre-engineered metal buildings for District's Facilities Division. The buildings include a large warehouse, an enclosed equipment storage shed, and an open tractor and vehicle shed. We received a total of 9 bids, and administration is requesting approval of IFB 522-1920 to Con Construction Services in the amount of $531,955.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the award of IFB 552-1920 to COHN Construction Services to build 3 pre-engineered metal buildings for facilities to serve as a warehouse, equipment shed, and tractor vehicle shed in the amount of $531,955.
Second. Do we have any discussion? We will now call the question. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion is approved by a vote of 2-0. Our third agenda item is financial update. Ashley Smith, you are recognized again.
Thank you. The financial update tonight is through December 31st, 2019. In the general fund, we have received $107 million year-to-date in revenue, which is approximately 2% higher than the revenue for the same period this time last year. Expenditures, including encumbrances, were $111.5 million, with 76% of the expenditures in salaries and benefits and 16% of expenditures in purchase services. Purchase services is mostly made up of payments to Kelly Services, utilities, and insurance. The Special Revenue Fund has received $10.9 million in revenue year-to-date, and including encumbrances, has expenditures of $13.2 million year-to-date. The EIA budget revenue of $14.7 million with expenditures of $5.9 million, including 53% of expenditures in salaries and benefits and 25% in purchase services. The capital budget, including the 1920 bond proceeds received in September, is budgeted for $30 million for the remaining 18-19 projects, as well as the capital projects approved for the 1920 school year. To date, we have spent $2.6 million with another $2.2 million encumbered for projects that are in progress. For the referendum budget, we still have $2.9 million remaining as of 12/31/2019. This will be used to fund supplemental furniture orders and for our schools and technology needs. The child nutrition budget of $19 million has received revenues of $4.2 million and has $6.5 million in expenditures, with the majority of expenditures on supplies for food and commodities for our schools. Are there any questions?
Ashley, will you go back? Is the federal government just slow in paying on the child nutrition?
We received our December payment in January, so I did not include that one. So
Okay.
it will catch up.
It's gonna.
Yes, it will catch up.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn so the Facilities and Capital Planning Committee can begin.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now adjourned.
I'm calling the Committee on Facilities and Capital Planning to order. I declare there's a quorum of committee members present and note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. The first agenda item tonight is a second reading of Cane Bay Elementary and Middle attendance lines. Dr. Ingram, you are recognized.
Yes, board members, as you know, you approved the attendance lines at the last meeting, and we are requesting approval with any amendments that you may want to make for the second reading.
I do. We don't normally address citizen comments at the same time, but someone did bring up that we couldn't do a second reading because Mr. McClellan was the motion and the second on the last minutes. We do run a committee structure in Berkeley County, so 2 readings is actually 4 individual meetings. So when it comes from committee to the full board, it comes as a committee report, so no second is required. So this will be heard tonight, and this will also be heard for the final time on January 28th. The only reason it was heard 2 times in one meeting in December is because of the holiday. There was only 1 meeting. That's not typically how we run things. First meeting of the month are committee meetings. Second meeting of the month is full board action. It's not typical for school boards, but it's highly efficient way to run things. And so if you do look at the full board meeting minutes, the committee reports look like a motion and a second by the same person, but they're not. It's the committee report. So I did want to point that out because we have certainly not violated FOIA or Robert's rules. We just run a committee. Ma'am, this is a school board meeting, not a public meeting, so it's not appropriate for you to speak now, but I'll be happy to speak to you afterwards. I was just trying to give some clarity. So, Dr. Ingram, thank you for your recommendation. I do know that there had been discussions about the Wildcat track specifically, and so the motion is for the undeveloped part of Cane Bay, but it is for the entire Wildcat track. And so if you want to leave the people who currently own houses in the Wildcat track in their current school, you do need to have an amendment for there to be clarity for those families. It can be entertained here, or it can be entertained as the full board next meeting, whatever is the flavor of the committee.
We need to be careful with the way we word it because the developers own a lot of the tracks on the Wildcat tract, and what we're contemplating is lots that have been purchased by individual homeowners that thought they were zoned for a certain area, not the big bunches of lots owned by developers. And so I would prefer that we make an amendment at second reading with the entire board rather than out of committee, but want I guess the minutes to reflect that we've at least had this discussion, that we contemplate a friendly amendment to allow the current individual homeowners who own lots on Wildcat to be grandfathered.
I'll agree with that because I did have somebody reach out to me, and I just thank y'all for considering that. So I fully agree with allowing it to be done with the full board for amending it.
And Dr. Ingram, just for the audience's clarification, this is just for the attendance lines of non-developed Cane
That is
Bay.
correct, sir.
And then Wildcat that is also non-developed, but we're making an exception for homeowners who own individual lots. So all the folks that I think that have come and spoken tonight, and I appreciate the folks that spoke and stayed. I know it's late, and I thank you for coming here. You're doing exactly what you need to be doing as a parent, and I appreciate you being here. But this doesn't affect you, this part. This affects folks that have not yet moved here and lots that have not yet been developed, just for clarity purposes.
We're really working to try to keep current kids not disrupted. There is a process for kindergarten enrollment that has been published, and I'm looking for Katie because I know she wasn't here before. But if you are here and you have a kindergarten student, we do have a published process for how kindergarten enrollment will happen. And if your child already attends a Cane Bay school, we've accounted for that child. So this is for places where houses have not been built.
I think there's something online on our homepage in the underneath district news, if I'm not mistaken. Frequently asked questions about the cap.
Yeah.
That you can refer to.
So, Mr. McQuillan, I think what I hear you saying is that you're in support of an amendment, but not at this time.
I think we just need to be careful with the language so that we don't get taken advantage of by some developer.
So it'll be taken up at the next board meeting as an amendment.
As a final reading, I think. I mean, specifically, I think our intention is to protect individual families, not developers.
Right.
Because
We could probably have legal counsel draw something up to that effect.
to be specific,
Yeah.
because our intention are for individual families and individual kids, not for large tracts of land. Large tracts of land are part of what got us sitting here talking about this.
Well, we want to be transparent, and we want to make sure that people with good intentions who bought property with the intent of having a single-home dwelling, with the understanding that they are going to be zoned into the current Cane Bay attendance zone, we're going to grandfather those in. Is that my understanding?
That's fair, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I can't even remember. Did I call this question? I hadn't. Do we have a motion to approve the second reading of Cane Bay elementary and middle attendance lines?
Yes. We have a motion to approve the second reading of the Cane Bay Elementary and Middle attendance line changes.
I second. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it by a vote of 2-0. The second agenda item is a second reading for land request from Alvin Recreational League, Inc. Dr. Ingram, you are again recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. McQuillan. We brought to you last time a request from the Alvin Recreational League for a small piece of property as outlined TMS number 049-00-02-037 to be donated to serve as a future senior center and educational site. Legal counsel, it is subject to appropriate conditions as outlined by legal counsel that it would be used as intended, and if it were not, for whatever reason, would revert back to the district. So ask for your approval for second reading.
So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it by a vote of 2-0. The third agenda item is the 5-year facilities master plan update. Dr. Ingram, you are again recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. McQuillan. As you know, I work closely with Dr. Parker, and we meet weekly when he comes here, sometimes twice a week, and we work closely with the facilities folks, and he has an update for us, and I'd like to defer to him for this presentation.
Mr. Chairman, we wanted to bring to you tonight the information with our 5-year plan. We made some adjustments to it, and we want to have a first reading on those adjustments tonight. We had some additions, and we have an update with the 5-year plan, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the issue over the design phase on Cane Bay Middle School and Sangaree Middle School. The adjustments to the 5-year plan basically the addition of Hanahan Middle School and the addition of Berkeley High School. And we would be some demolitions at Hanahan and some building additions there as well. Also, the same thing at Berkeley High School. These were not on the original 5-year plan, but I want to bring it to you tonight for first reading. I talked to you about it at the last board meeting, but we wanted to bring it to you on a full month, 2 board meetings for action on these 2 items. And I'm going to go to them and kind of give you an understanding of what we're referring to with these 2 projects. Hanahan Middle School, we're looking at a major demolition there and a major construction project and adding additional seats at Hanahan Middle School. And you can see it here, the phase 1 would be in the front of the school. Phase 2 facing the school would be the left wing of the school. In demolishing the old part, building a new part there, and of course we'd have to get into the design phase, but this would add additional space to Hanahan Middle School to keep the Tanner Plantation within that school district. As we look at moving forward, these are some of the issues that we're going to be faced with, and we're looking at how do we move forward with the additions and with new school construction. I'll bring these back to you at our next board meeting for final approval. If you have any questions on these items that we're adding to the 5-year plan, give you some time to talk to us about the intentions that we have and what we believe is in the best interest of the school district. Now, looking at Berkeley High School, we've got the old annex area there, and it's highlighted in the yellow. And there's a number of adjustments to that campus, but taking down the old annex section and adding a new wing and connecting the school together there and making it more conducive to the learning of the kids at the school and also a safer school as well. Questions about these 2 items that we want to add to the 5-year plan?
Dr. Parker, this is listed on the agenda as an update.
Well, it's an update, and I'm bringing it to you as a first reading. The update part of this
Are the
is,
2 additions?
well, the update part is adjusting the 5-year plan, showing you the progress that we're making, but also the second part of this is the addition of these 2 items to the plan. These were not on the original plan. Any questions on these 2 items? All of this document is going to be on your board docs. Matter of fact, it's on your board docs now to let you go in and take a look at the information there. Any questions that you have, we will be glad to address those questions. Yeah, I mentioned that we were working on the additions at Cane Bay Middle School and Sangaree Middle School. We've had 2 meetings with the architect. We have the footprint basically laid out with the architect. He is now looking at drawing up the plans and bringing it back to our design committee and working on the design and finalizing design so that we can move forward with the contract, putting out an RFP for the contract on construction. The progress there is moving well right now, and we're pretty much in a holding pattern, waiting on the architect to get back to us as far as design is concerned. Construction department did a great job on this design phase, and we basically gave the parameters as far as the exterior footprint to the architect. Now he needs to work on the inside and putting into the inside design those items that we have on our ed specs. Any questions that you have that I can answer for you regarding the process, the design process that we're in right now?
Just, I think I know the answer, but we basically have these 2 additions funded
That is correct.
through our 8% money.
That is correct.
Okay, so it's not a situation where we're looking for funds. We're actually in the building or the preliminary stages of the building program.
That is correct.
What is it, about 18 months, Dr. Parker?
Well, once we get through the design process, we get into the contract as far as the construction company phase of that. You're going to go through those phases. We're hoping that it's going to be
About
quicker
right.
than that.
Okay,
and
good.
we're going to try to accelerate it as much as we can, but there are some things we don't have any control over.
Understood.
And those things primarily are dealing with permitting with OSF.
I just wanted to kind of reassure the folks that the funding is available for those projects and is going forward as quickly as possible.
Mr. Chairman, any other questions I can answer for you, be glad to, but this 5-year plan is on your board docs. The only thing that we're asking for your approval on is the addition to the plan as far as Berkeley High School and Hanahan Middle School.
I move to amend the plan as proposed by the administration to add the additions discussed at tonight's meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it by a vote of 2-0. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this committee meeting.
So move.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. We are now adjourned completely.
Nah.